Can we delve into that,
Sure.
drill down into that a little bit more with you in the context of this office work scenario and how VMware could help the business really achieve its carbon neutral objective? We talked about this as being part of a digital transformation strategy and why that's important. In what way could that help Officeworks increase its competitiveness and actually achieve somewhere near the zero carbon strategy?
Yeah. So I think it's interesting, like technologies like virtualization from VMware have helped eliminate, I think it's a stat like 664 million metric tons of carbon emissions from the atmosphere since 2003, which equates to roughly the energy output for Spain, Germany, and Italy in a year. So it's a pretty profound result from the use of at that time, and certainly over the course of the last 17 years, digital technology. I think that VMware became carbon neutral 2 years ahead of schedule by some very strong energy efficiency programs, renewable energies, and now I think we've really turned towards the focus of helping our customers and partners along that journey as well by implementing digital strategies, and really focused on, I think, 5 core aspects of building what we call a digital foundation, which can then feed into an overall business strategy. None of this really matters with technology alone. It really has to be a part of an overall change in business strategy, and they talked about some of that in the Officeworks story around changing the way that they're manufacturing their furniture, or how they're selling their furniture. How can they, very traditional sales model. I don't know if that's walking around to different furniture stores with a brochure and talking about their furniture, but really digitizing that entire process.
I think it was leafleting on the street.
Yeah, it could be. Who knows? Yeah. Yes, it was. But certainly it was described as not modern. But I think building a foundation that allows the company, even beyond the CIO, to be able to implement a digital foundation that will allow them to be resilient, agile, drive innovation, and actually succeed on those objectives. And we really think of it in 5 key areas. You have delivering applications. You have a lot of organizations today that will have legacy applications that are really difficult to modernize in the context of reaching new customers in a digital way, but modernizing those applications or going completely digital and building new, digital-first ways of reaching customers. So really focusing on that application development, modernization, creation process, and building a platform for that. Then it's being able to deploy and deliver that application on any cloud or any data center, any cloud, whether it's private or public, working with companies like Google Cloud, Amazon, Microsoft, being able to deliver that application in any fashion, in any cloud that's available. Looking to secure and scale the network. We've talked a lot about working from home alone and the scalability and the network bandwidth that's required in order for home working to exist. And when you look at digitizing more of the business functions across the organization, the security and the scalability of the network is really important. Then you look at the home working capabilities overall. We talked a little bit about endpoint security. We talked about mobile devices, of being able to work anywhere, whether it's your device, your iPad, your laptop, your desktop, but being able to work with any device, and that kind of technology enabling a foundation that not only responds like customers and companies were having to do after the pandemic, but also building a longer-term strategy to be able to continue to respond. And I think that actually goes with everything I've said already. And then the final thing goes back to the original security conversation in the first scenario we were talking about, is a lot of the way security has been approached to date is by a Band-Aid approach. You have all different levels of security: endpoint security, network security, application security, and it's a little bit of a bolted-on approach where you're securing from the outside versus looking at it from an inside perspective. So building a security model that is built within your apps and within your network, and so an intrinsic security methodology is something that we're really looking at.
But isn't that rather like saying, if we were to design this, we wouldn't start here? but this is where we are now, and we've got to sometimes bolt things on. And
Absolutely. No, it's not saying that the bolt-on strategy isn't something that will still exist, but as much as we can start to build security within the application, it starts to become inherent in the application itself versus always having to address the security aspect as a security solution. It becomes built into the application as something that exists.
Okay, let's bring it back more, and please, thoughts on this one, this whole idea of the net zero carbon strategy and so on. Do give us your thoughts on this. Are Officeworks being a little too ambitious, trying to use digital transformation to, yes, catch up with competitors, but actually to make themselves the first zero carbon furniture supplier manufacturer?
I think that it will be. It will absolutely be a byproduct of the digital transformation that they're driving. I think where I heard in the scenario where they could, make a mistake is making carbon neutrality the headline and digital transformation the byline or the sub-headline, where it probably needs to be reversed. Through digital transformation and digitization of the business, we will also achieve carbon neutrality.
But doesn't this come back to what Clay was saying in terms of customers, it's good for the brand and also has lots of other good reasons as well?
Yes.
And surely it should be a priority.
No, it absolutely should be a priority, and I actually do completely agree that it can be a differentiator, a competitive advantage to have that as a key strategy of the company. I think understanding where Officeworks is coming from, they need to make sure that they don't set a goal that's not achievable, but it's partnered with this as a part of that overall digitization strategy, and carbon neutrality comes along with that and how they're going to achieve it.
I suppose what is good to hear out of that scenario, well, a number of things, but they are seeing COVID as a positive reason for change. And hopefully they're not alone in that.
No, I think we've all talked about how, look, we have this, we've talked about it amongst our teams about, technology companies actually have a really important role to play in carbon neutrality, in security, and responding in the pandemic. And I think you've seen it in some of the success, quite honestly, that technology companies have had through the pandemic because we've been helping customers with some of these challenges that we've been talking about today. Almost to the point that there can even be a techlash, if you will, of technology companies and how they're growing during the pandemic. But I think we have a responsibility to actually help our customers through the pandemic. And we see this as an opportunity to help our customers use this as a catalyst for change. But also try not to ambulance chase, if you will. And but I don't think it has to be like that if we're really seeking to help our customers. And technology can absolutely be an enabler of driving that change. But I think we're seeing it across industries of companies, of citizens, of people looking at this as an opportunity to reevaluate. It's also the biggest proof of concept that we've ever had of moving quickly and making change quickly and actually being successful at it. So I think there's a lot of good proof points there.
One more thought perhaps on Officeworks, because a lot of successful organizations have, they've spearheaded the adoption of new technologies, IoT, AI and so on. Should Officeworks now be creating smart factories to achieve their goal? Is this the moment to do that?
I think it's certainly something to take a look at. I think the overall confidence in technologies like IoT, like machine learning and AI is increasing. I think we've seen some data recently that over a third of the population in the UK trusts those types of technologies. You start to see it. You talked about healthcare. You start to see IoT become mainstream in some industries. And I think as that trust of the citizen starts to increase on AI, IoT, it can become more mainstream. I think what's really critical in the case of Officeworks is that you can't just jump from where they are to IoT and implementing IoT and machine learning and AI. You have to build that foundation, that digital foundation that allows you to implement those technologies as a part of your business. So it's something I think to have as a part of the strategy, but again, kind of going back to building that digital foundation that allows for that transformation to take place and for those technologies to really be implemented as a key part of their business.
Yeah, Melinda, thank you for your thoughts on that. I mean, and let's spread this out a little bit, because one of what I'm picking up from this is that this isn't just about making sure the technology works and we can all work okay and so on. This is a huge opportunity to change so many things and bring it all in together. Mark, thoughts on that? Is that how you see it?
It is, and absolutely the core building block of this is the data, the information the organisation needs and manages and distributes between its clients, its suppliers, its partners, and so on. Data is the core of digital transformation. It's great having all these technologies, IoT, to collect data, and we throw buzzwords around in the tech industry like we just invented them, AI, machine learning, but it's actually the data that the organisation needs to actually derive some business value. So I have a lot of customers come to me and say, can you tell me all about machine learning? Because we're quite involved in that space. And I always start with, well, let's talk about your data and your business outcomes. Let's leave the technology to the end, because we need to understand what you're trying to achieve here and what data you've got to apply this technology to.